Hey travelers, welcome to this week's episode of my podcast, Life's a Voyage. I am here again with Adam, my favorite co-host. Hey Adam.
Hey, happy to be back again. Thank you for having me once again.
It's so funny because we film these kind of out of order. So sometimes I'm filming with someone else, but then they'll go out in different orders than we film them. So it feels like I haven't actually filmed with you in a couple weeks, but it's probably only been like 2 weeks. Yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
Since last time you were on. Okay, so today's episode, we're going to talk about car camping. I love car camping. I think it's great. And specifically in America, for those that don't know, one of the things that really propelled me to start my blog and YouTube and everything was our trip when we drove basically across the country. We drove from Rochester, New York to the Grand Canyon and back. So that was pretty crazy. It was pretty far. And yeah, we kind of fell in love with car camping, didn't you?
Yeah, I was so excited for that trip because I remember thinking about how we went to Europe and stuff. I was like, wow, I really haven't seen any of America, and I'm already starting to go all these other places. Like, maybe we should start focusing on seeing America. And when you came up with that idea when we graduated school to go all the way to Grand Canyon, at first it seemed unrealistic, but the way you planned it out, we were able to like camp in the car. It's not something I'd ever thought of, so yeah, it was a cool experience.
And we did one trip before that was like a longer road trip, but it wasn't as car camping heavy when we went to
I don't think we slept in the car at all. I think we just picked Airbnbs along the way.
I think we slept in the car like 2 or 3 times because we had an air mattress.
Oh, okay.
Remember?
Yeah, but we didn't like fully convert the car into like car camping. Like,
yeah.
I remember going car camping when we built the whole platform and everything. It was like, this is serious. Like, I was able to store all my camera stuff. I was like, I'm good to go.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. But yeah, so we really wanted to see more of America, and one of the best ways to do that is to road trip. I love road tripping. I know it's not for everyone, but if you are interested in road tripping, if you're interested in car camping, this is definitely the episode for you. We're gonna dish all our dirty deets about how it went down. But yeah, so car camping, why did we do this? Why did we think it was a good idea to sleep in our car for 21 days? Because it's cheap.
Yeah, it's absolutely the most affordable way to travel.
Weren't you surprised when I told you our budget and you were like, is that all we're going to spend? You were like questioning it.
Yeah, because I thought about it in like the amount of stops and the amount of stuff we were going to see. It was like we were taking like 10 trips in one trip, so...
Seriously.
Yeah, even the gas budget alone, I was like, really? Is that all it costs? And you were pretty spot on with that.
Yeah, we actually ended up saving a little bit of money. So our overall budget, we went to the Grand Canyon and back, and we were gone for about a month. It was like 21 days, give or take a couple days on either end that we weren't working. We were in Rochester, like prepping, and then when we got home. So we were off of work for almost a month. And my budget was $2,500, which maybe it sounds like a lot of money, but realistically, when we're living in Rochester, we spend about $3,000 a month just on rent, food, like car stuff, like just our bills is like almost $3,000 a month together for 2 people.
Yeah, and that $2,500 for the trip, that was for both of us, right?
Yeah, so that was my budget. I was like, I don't want to spend any more than $2,500 for that month, and we're going to do it. We're just going to go. So we spent about $150 to prep, and then we spent about $2,100 together, so about $1,000 each on the entire trip. It was pretty affordable.
Yeah, and we weren't like super conservative about it. We kind of just, I mean, we weren't eating like the best stuff every night, but there was no point where I was like, I'm unhappy doing this. Like,
yeah,
you know, every now and then we would get something really cheap, but that was kind of the fun part.
The food choices were definitely a little questionable.
Yeah. A
lot of gas station food, which I actually love gas station food.
There's the dirty deed number 1.
My dirty secrets. I actually love gas station food, like tornadoes.
Ooh.
Oh, they're so
nasty.
Good. The French toast ones. And you ate a lot of hot and spicy noodles.
Yeah, I lived off of hot spicy noodles.
But you eat those at home too.
Yeah, that really wasn't a compromise. It was actually kind of a added bonus.
But yeah, so it's so cheap. It was so easy to be cheap But we also had a couple nights where we like went out to nice dinners, and
Absolutely.
we splurged on like one motel room, and like we got like a couple Airbnbs, I think, like 1 or 2 nights in Airbnbs when we really felt like we
Yeah.
needed it. And it was still super cheap, and even though we weren't bare bones, you know.
Well, that was the nice part about it being a road trip. It was so flexible. It was like we don't have to stay in a major city at an Airbnb. We can go outside the city and get a little bit cheaper of an Airbnb and not have to worry about it, because we're literally just crashing there and then in the morning going back out and exploring more.
Yeah, we that being flexible is the best part about road tripping. We were able to literally get up and go whenever we wanted. We could sleep while each other was driving, you know, whatever we wanted to do. You can do whatever you want. Like, there's no schedule really. Like, we had an itinerary, but we didn't stick to it.
No, yeah. There were days that we like took off, like we just relaxed and hung out in the car, like walked around a little bit, but, or even days where we worked. Like I started to get pretty antsy, and we went to a coffee shop and worked for like an entire day, which was awesome.
Yeah, it's so flexible to just be like, you know, there's no flights to catch, there's no anything to really stick you to a time frame. There's not even like when you're renting a car, you know, you have to get back by a certain day, so you feel rushed to like get back. And there was none of that. So we were like kind of just leisurely making our way around the country, which was so cool. It's the best thing ever. But going back kind of to like how we did it, so we budgeted it out. I budgeted it out. And then I made like a rough itinerary. I did a bunch of research and was like, what are the coolest things that we need to see? And Adam actually had no clue what we were going to see until like the day we left.
Yeah, I didn't do much research. I mean, as per any of our trips, I'm like, all right, where are we going? And you tell me, I'm like, all right, let's see what happens.
Yeah, and it was like, I was showing him like Instagram pictures of like some of the places we were going, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited to see this, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, we're going to see that? What? Like, you were shocked?
That's what I liked about it. Like, for me, not planning it, it's like I kind of get a surprise, but there's also that downside of I'm like, oh, we could have seen more, or like I'll look up places around there. Like, we wanted to go see the wave, and like, you didn't even know about that, and that's something I probably would have planned in. But I do like the whole portion of kind of the surprise of it all. Yeah,
we missed a couple things. The wave specifically still makes me angry because we drove right by it, and we didn't know it was there. We didn't know it existed.
Yeah, we drove past it to go to Antelope Canyon, and we didn't even end up going to Antelope Canyon because it was ridiculously expensive for like 5 minutes.
Yeah, and it was like you can't really stop to take pictures unless you go on the photographer's tour, which is such a scam. Like, come on. Everyone's a photographer these days. Like, whatever. Anyway. So we didn't even go to Antelope Canyon. And we missed the wave. And I'm still mad about it to this day. So we got to go back. We got to go drive back.
Yeah, I guess if you're ever in northern Arizona, then go to the wave and
I think the wave
Antelope
is actually
Canyon.
Technically southern Utah.
Okay.
The border is very...
Yeah, the whole area of where the four of them meet.
Like Monument Valley was like, are we in Arizona or are we in Utah? Mm-hmm. The whole time.
Yeah, we kept kind of like bouncing Arizona. Back and forth.
Yeah. So yeah, we planned it out, and then we converted my car basically into our living quarters for the month. And I kind of gave the project to you, and I was like, can you build this thing? Because we ended up building like a platform for the car that was specifically made for my SUV. And we were able to like store everything underneath and then like make a bed on top. But I had no clue what I was doing, so I like made you and your dad do it. Mm-hmm. And your grandpa even helped put it together. It was so funny.
Yeah, it was actually quite easy. It was more of just like a bunch of 2x4s and plywood. It doesn't have to look pretty because you're just covered up with a mattress and everything. So, but it was really useful being able to be raised off the ground so we could store all of our stuff under there. Like I would keep my Pelican case under there, and then you could go over to the passenger side door and access all of your clothes and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's like all compartmentalized, so it was perfect.
And we had more space than we thought we would have. Like we had space for more stuff if we needed it.
Yeah, that was the best part, because I remember when we go to Iceland and stuff like that, or wherever we travel on a plane, it's like, I can't bring my full tripod, I can't bring the drone I want to bring. And this time it was like I got to bring everything, and it was just a fun time.
Adam had a wild trip with all his camera gear. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so we were able to make this platform, and I actually have a blog out about how I made that platform, and we only got to use it twice We still have it, but
Yeah, it's in my parents' house.
we don't have my car anymore.
True, we don't really need it anymore.
So if anyone wants a platform for like a small mid-size SUV, hit me up. I'll hand it over. It's a bunch of wood.
The best part about it was the part we made with the hinges for the headrest. So during the day we'd fold it back and you had more room.
Length.
Yeah, you'd have more room to. But then at night we'd fold it out and you'd be able to lay down fully because I was too tall for it.
Yeah, because we measured out my car and the back of my car was actually too short for Adam to lay out fully. So I like looked up a bunch of ways that people did this, and they basically created like a headrest. So if you push the seats forward at night and then you lay them down, you could flip open like another piece of wood and then it would be tall enough for Adam. And then, you know, you have more space to sleep, and it was super cozy in there. It was super, I thought we had tons of space.
I loved it. Yeah. It was a little hard to like get in and out sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
like, especially in the morning when you first wake up and you're all
like,
stiff.
yeah.
Like, I just got to get out of here. But no, it was like really cozy, like a little sleeping pod.
Yeah, I loved it.
I think the one thing we could have done better is had more like blinds, but the back of your car is so tinted that you can't really see in or out. So
yeah, we didn't do everything that I wanted to do, again because we wanted to stay in the budget, and then also just because it was so temporary. Like we only ended up using it for 1 month, and then we used it again for a trip to Florida, but we only drove down. It took us 2 days to drive down, and then we stayed with my mom, and then we drove back and took 2 days to drive back. So we weren't really car camping that time.
yeah, we didn't even really like use it to sleep. We just like took turns driving basically.
Yeah, it wasn't.
So bummer, but
Yeah.
back to the road trip portion.
Yeah, back to road tripping. So we made our bed, basically, and then we blocked out time, we saved our money, and we left. And when we left, we were like a little behind schedule. And we were like, oh, we're going to cut off Rocky Mountain National Park. So basically our route was from Rochester to Colorado. So that was like our biggest our biggest span of time was Rochester to Colorado. And that took us like 2 days, I think.
It's like 21 hours. Yeah.
It was something wild, but we like basically just drove. It took us 2 days to drive it.
Yeah, I think we slept one night in like Iowa or something.
No, Nebraska.
Yeah. Yeah, we basically skipped all of the Midwest and just went straight to Colorado, Denver.
Yeah, so we got to Denver. That was like our first stop. But we left a little late, so we cut out Rocky Mountain National Park, and now I'm still mad because we ended up having so much extra time on the back end of our trip. We could have made it, but our route was basically Rochester to Colorado, and then Colorado to Utah to Arizona to New Mexico, then to Texas, Louisiana,
Tennessee,
and then home.
Pennsylvania,
home. So it was kind of like crazy how much we got to see. How many states is that? Like 6?
I mean, yeah, not including all the ones we drove through.
Yeah.
We got to spend a lot of time though specifically in Arizona
and Utah.
Even Texas we spent quite a bit of time in.
We saw 13 national parks on the trip though, and we're planning on seeing a couple more. At the time, White Sands National Park
wasn't a national park.
It was a monument.
Right.
So we've been there. And
actually one of the coolest national parks I've been to. It's
cool.
It's pretty small, but like it's almost endless, it feels like.
It feels like you're in another world. I love it.
Especially when the sun's going down.
Yeah, sunset was wild, but also just being there in the day, it's so bright, like because the sun is reflecting off the white sand. And when I'll have to put pictures up, but like when I say white sand, I mean the whitest sand ever. Like it's not like beach sand, it's white, it's stark, it's so crazy, it's so bright there. It's like you're on another planet.
Yeah, it does feel otherworldly.
Yeah. But anyway, so we were driving across the country and we got there and we thought we were behind schedule. So we like skipped a couple things and then got back on schedule, but we should have just seen it and then made our way, because we found out as we did our trip that we were so flexible that sometimes we would end up spending more time in one place or less time in one place, but it all averaged out that by the end of the trip we had extra time almost. Like we got home a little early.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we stayed in Hershey longer.
Yeah.
And by that time I was like excited to like sleep in a bed. So I was like, we'll just head home a little early. And we drove the last portion of the trip kind of fast. But yeah, we saw so much in a short amount of time was my entire point of that whole thing. It's like we saw all these national parks and we could have even seen more. But out of all of the stuff that we saw, we realized that there's so much stuff that you can't know is there until you like go see it. Like when we went to Moab in Utah, we ended up spending a weekend in Utah, and I didn't know that the two national parks, Arches and Canyonlands, are basically right across the street from each other. That's not accurate. Like they're not directly across the street from each other, but like they kind of are, and we thought we would have to be driving from one park to the next, but we just ended up staying in Moab for the weekend, and that was like my favorite part of the trip, I think.
Yeah, also they looked really big on a map. I mean, Canyonlands is really big to drive through the whole thing, but Moab, you don't have to go very far into the park to see like all of the cool stuff.
For you, or for Arches?
Arches, I'm sorry, yeah.
Yeah, Arches was a lot smaller than I thought, but also one of the best parks I think we saw.
Yeah, just like the best hiking. Like you could just go on any of those trails like in the evening. It was just really hot, so because we were there in the summer, so you weren't really able to hike all day. So we kind of hung out during the day and saw the town, and then would go hiking in the evening.
Yeah, that's one thing that you have to be really good about timing, because we went at the beginning of summer. It was like basically the whole month of June. So it was really hot some places and then really cold some places. Like in Colorado at night, it was kind of cold.
Yeah, not unbearably cold. It was kind of rainy too.
Yeah.
That was some of the things we found to be like my favorite part of the trip were stuff that weren't even planned, you know?
Like what?
Well,
Monument Valley wasn't technically on our itinerary until your dad said that we had to go.
Yeah, I mean, we had all these like general points that we wanted to hit, but even like when we were in Great Sand Dunes and we went to that little greenhouse, like that we had no idea that was there. It just happened to be raining one day. We're like, what are we gonna do all day? And we found this little greenhouse that had like a little bar inside, and it ended up being like one of the most relaxing days I've ever had.
Ever in my life. Oh my God, that was such a dream. I felt like at that point, when we found that place and when we actually got there, when you get there, it's like a public pool. So there's like all these kids running around and screaming.
Oh yeah, I was like, this is gonna be horrible.
And I was like paying entry, and I was like, shit, this was not a good idea. Like, this is not how I want to spend my day. Because if you're not out adventuring, there's nowhere to go home to. You just sit in the car. So you have to find a coffee shop or like something to do if it's raining. So we found this place and we're like, where's the greenhouse? Like, I saw the pictures online, like, point me where it is. And they were like, oh, are you 21? And I was like, yeah, I can show you my ID. So we had to get our IDs. And then she was like, it's like over there. So like,
go down like a dark tunnel.
Yeah, you like walk down this dark hallway, and then you open up the door and they card you again, or like they ask for your wristband. And then there's just like this oasis of like hot tubs and like a sauna and like a pool and no
Forget
kids.
that it's an entire greenhouse, like just beautiful exotic plants everywhere.
Oh my God,
and an entire
biggest
bar.
And it wasn't even that old. Like, I was talking to one of the head gardeners there, because I'm a plant gal. And I was like, how old is this? Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, when did you plant this? Because they're planted in the ground. They're not planted in pots. And there was this fiddle leaf. And she was like, oh, I planted that like 3 years ago in the ground. And I was like, it is massive for being only 3 years old because it's in the ground. It was crazy.
Back to the point, like, that was just a total hidden gem that we didn't even expect to come across. Like, it wasn't even in a town. It was just in the middle of like a cross section of like two roads, like two interstates. It was even in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, you had to kind of go like off-roading to get to it, and you pull up and it looks like a bunch of nothing.
It looked like a public pool with a bunch of kids screaming. It was in the middle of nowhere.
But it was beautiful. One of the best parts of the trip, really early on too.
Yeah, that was like the first week of the trip.
But we had a few things like that we're lucky to come across that kind of replenished us throughout the trip. Because like when we were in Moab, there was a lot of hot days hiking, and then afterwards we were like, is there anywhere to swim around here? We found this like natural pool that you had to hike to, and it was like the perfect little hike.
It was
something Mills.
Oh my gosh, I know. I have a blog on it. It's mentioned in a blog.
But yeah, another thing we didn't even know was there, didn't anticipate going on, and then like the circumstance we were in ended up having us find it, and it was like perfect.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up. But also talk about the Moab KOA.
Oh yeah.
Breathtaking, that was one of the only, we stopped at a couple campsites and camped at campsites. Most of the time we were camping in places for free, which we'll talk about more in a second. But
yeah, we anticipated most of the time staying in the car, obviously, so that gets tough because you're in the car and it's hot at night sometimes, and you just kind of want to relax and spend some time outside of the car. So one of the places we were able to do that was at the Moab KOA, which we didn't even know existed. Again, we kind of were in the area looking for a place to stay, knew we didn't want to spend too much money, and then we saw what that one had to offer, because it wasn't just a normal KOA. It's called like a KOA holiday.
Yeah.
So it was an entire pool resort, like hot tubs, and it wasn't that expensive, and you're able to hang out and shower, and they were like private showers, so it was really nice. It wasn't like a public shower or anything. So, well, obviously it's public, but
it was like really nice campsite bathrooms, like the nicest campsite bathrooms ever.
And that was important because not only were we sleeping in the car, but like we were hiking all day. It was hot out. We were just kind of getting beat up, and to like come home to that was basically, that's the reason why we were able to stay out so long on the trips, because we had found a bunch of places like that, as well as staying with family and friends, that we were able to kind of like replenish ourselves throughout the trip.
Shower. Showering is the one con of car camping. I love showering at the end of the day, especially when you're out adventuring and you're hiking and you're dirty, like literally dirt, especially out in the west.
Moab, yeah, it's just so dusty.
Yeah. And being able to shower at the end of the day is the best feeling. Like it keeps you going. So when we could find places like that where you can actually shower, oh my God, the best places ever.
Yeah, we're not the most luxurious people. We don't really need that much, but the fact that
depends on the trip.
You can kind of like hang out and reset yourself for a little bit, because I'm pretty good at like when I'm camping, like I could be gone for a week and not have to like worry about getting dirty and stuff. But
well, to talk about that, I guess about like hygiene in car camping is a huge thing. We basically just lived off of like wet wipes. Like I would wipe down my armpits every night, clean up. And that's like what you would do if you didn't have a shower that night. Like if you're sleeping at a bus stop, which actually some of them have showers that are pretty nice, and we did shower at a lot of bus stops or truck stops. Not bus stops, truck stops. But like you have to be okay with being like a little nasty. Like if you want a car camp, like I'm not going to like glamorize it. It's not cute.
There's definitely ways around it, but it kind of defeats the whole affordability portion of it, like.
Yeah. Well, the showers at the truck stops were maybe like $3 or $6.
Yeah, so if you need a shower, just get a shower.
Yeah, you can shower that way. And we would go to a lot of like the greenhouse where we were swimming. We then showered after. But we are also staying at campsites where you can shower. And there's ways around it. But usually it's like $3 to pay for a shower. You just have to find a really good place for it. But if you don't find a place, which we didn't every night, you got to clean up. But it's definitely a little nasty at times. We actually had a jug of water in the car that we used to brush our teeth every night. So we would like pour out some water, wet our brushes, like brush our teeth, and then like get a cup and like swish. But it's not pretty all the time.
Right, yeah, I see that. Your friends on Instagram have like the bag shower that you can bring places.
Yeah, Anna and James from Leave the Map, they're awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
They're living in a van. They do van life, so they have the solar shower where it's basically like you fill up a bag of water and you put it in the sun and it heats the water up so that you're showering in hotter water.
That's nice.
Which is really cool. I would love to do van life.
Yeah, we don't do car camping to that extent where we really need that, 'cause it's usually just like a day we can go without a shower.
Yeah, we weren't that dedicated to it to invest in stuff like that, but you can and actually shower. But that's more for van life rather than car camping.
I don't know, if people are going on a long car road trip, might be worth it.
Maybe, but the point is you need somewhere to hang it up. So you would need like a taller SUV or something like that. Vans are tall, so you can like hang them and like actually stand under the water. But Anyway, going on about showering for way too long. One of the other cons, while we're talking about hygiene, was sometimes it was hard to sleep. Like, we would probably get like 6 hours on average because we went in the summer and the sun would rise and you rise with the sun. Like, there's no blocking out that much light or that much noise,
Yeah. I wasn't in so much like the noise for me. It was really the car just starts to heat up after a little while there.
And we would leave the windows down like a smidge. But some nights it was way too hot. And I will actually say that when we were in Arizona, you cannot sleep in a car in Arizona in the summer. Don't do it. We didn't try. We actually stayed with family when we were in Arizona, and we took everything out of our car at night because
it will just melt.
It would just melt. Like, especially,
I had tons of film with me too. I was like, I'm not gonna leave this in the car. And batteries,
batteries,
it'd be really bad.
Propane for our camping stove. We had to take everything out of our car at night or during the day in Arizona because it's 100 degrees at night. It was wild.
Yeah.
So that's something you really gotta consider. Like, when you're planning the time of the year you're taking your trip, make sure you know what the weather is going to be like, where you're going. And
really comes down to where you're going, because even like Colorado and Utah, we were fine. Like, it was a little uncomfortable when in the morning it would start to get kind of hot, but then once you go down like past even northern Arizona is fine, like Flagstaff, but once you go down into like Phoenix and stuff, that's where it starts to get really bad. It
was really, really bad. And even at night, in one of the first nights when we were in Colorado, was it Great Sand Dunes? One of those places. You're really high. The elevation's really high. So even though it's nice and warm in the day, it gets really cool at night. And I remember one of the nights was kind of chilly, like a little uncomfortably chilly. But it was like one night out of the whole trip that I was cold.
Yeah.
And that's just because Colorado is so tall.
Yeah, the two places that I was really the most uncomfortable sleeping was one, Arizona. Like you said, we didn't even try because we just knew it was going to be too hot. It wasn't in our playbook. And we had already planned to stay with people. And then the one that I did end up staying in the car that I was like, I don't know if I would do that again, was in Louisiana.
Oh my gosh, Orleans. It was so muggy.
Yeah, it was just brutal. I think that was an added stop to our trip, right?
Yeah, I really wanted to see New Orleans. So we had time at the end of our trip, and I was like, well, let's just go to New Orleans for the day. And we got there at night the night before and had to sleep.
It was just disgustingly humid.
It was so humid that like my skin was wet. We took a shower that morning actually at that truck stop.
Yeah.
I remember that. Ugh, it was
that
so
place
bad.
Was nasty, yeah. Not the truck stop, just
the humidity.
Yeah, humidity.
Don't go there in the summer. It's just we were walking around and it was so muggy. We like walked into an art gallery just to like get air conditioner for like a hot minute. Oh, so muggy. There was something earlier that I said that we would touch on again, but I don't think we did.
I don't know. We went from showering to something else.
Kind of all over the place.
Yeah. Reel it back in.
Oh, okay. We kind of went off track of my notes, but there was something else I wanted to say. We were talking about, dang it. Oh, well. If someone's listening and you remember what we forgot to mention, let me know. Or if you've caught it.
I was talking about hidden gems, going places.
Hidden gems.
Oh, the Mills place.
Oh, I can't find it off my head. I'll put that in the description.
Is that what you were looking for?
That's what I was looking for, but there was something else that we said. KOAs, campgrounds. Oh, it'll
Truck
come back
stops,
to me.
showers.
Yeah.
Bag showers. Okay, what are you going to talk about?
I wanted to talk about food because we kind of touched on it, but when we were car camping, we ate pretty bad compared to how we actually eat, and we didn't like prepare a ton of food for our trip. Like some people like bring a lot of groceries or whatever with them, and we did sometimes have groceries. Like we made eggs a couple times. We had like a small cooler, but we really just kind of ate bad the whole time. We had like protein bars.
Yeah, it wasn't horrible. We just kind of were eating as we were going instead of preparing.
Yeah.
There were a few times where we would go to like a grocery store and get like sandwich meats and stuff, like lunch meats.
Yeah, but they didn't last long, so you couldn't get a lot.
Yeah, you just get a little bit at a time, but still, it's like it's the same concept. You know, if you want food instantly that's hot, it's going to be more expensive than going to a grocery store. And there were a couple times we did go to a grocery store, and you can go kind of play by play and stop at grocery stores along the way. But
yeah, but
if you're just going through drive-thrus, then yeah, it's going to be pretty bad.
Yeah, but the point of that is that if you have like dietary restrictions, I don't know how you're gonna love it, because like we don't have any dietary restrictions, and like if we were vegan, like having fresh veggies in a hot car, even if you have like a small cooler, you have to be constantly buying food if you wanted to have fresh veggies or something like that.
Yeah, it'd be tough.
It'd be really tough. We ate a lot of like I said, protein bars. We would make pasta or mac and cheese, stuff like that. Like that's what we would actually cook.
I guess the ability, like I think it's just the position we're in, the ability to eat poorly kind of made the trip a lot easier.
Yeah,
like,
I guess that's it.
You know?
Yeah, we just weren't stunted by anything, so we were able to just eat pretty cheap and...
Yeah, that's not what we wanted to be concerned with the whole time we're there. Like, obviously, we want to be healthy all the time, but we were like, you know, where's the next thing? What can we see? And then the food was the second thought. It's like, what are we going to get along the way?
We were also, like, newly out of college, so we were like, wait, what?
Yeah, it's like the first...
No, this was 2018.
Yeah, right? I graduated in 2019.
I think it was the year before we graduated.
Was it? No, I think it was the year after we graduated.
Oh, whatever. Whichever one it was.
It was definitely
the year after.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't have a lot of money at the time, so we were like really trying to like squeeze our budget, and one of the ways was food. So what I guess my point is like if you're really trying to squeeze your budget, then food is the way to like really cut back on like spending. Like we would still get coffee like every day.
Oh yeah, that was a huge part of our budget. We got coffee all the time.
We got coffee every day. Like we
could make coffee. Now we have an AeroPress. We could easily make coffee all the time now.
Yeah.
That'd probably be a better investment. If you're addicted to coffee like we are, get an AeroPress and an electric kettle. Just bring that with you.
Yeah, so...
Because we're spending like $10 a day on coffee probably.
Probably.
So that's $200 right there.
I wouldn't doubt if $200 of our budget was coffee. That's just what we like spending money on.
Yeah.
It's just...
We've learned to cope with it though. We have a very fancy espresso machine now that compensates for a lot of our costs.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that. But food was one thing I wanted to touch on, and then I also wanted to touch on the campgrounds. And a lot of the campgrounds were like very cheap to stay at, but not always worth to stay at. Like we stayed at one once in Arizona that we basically stayed at because we wanted to shower, but we realized that you could use their showers without staying there. And there's so many free places to park. That's what I wanted to touch on, was where we usually parked. So we would park in like Walmart parking lots.
That was number one. You should have a list of like the amount of places we stayed, like how many times we stayed. Like Walmart would be like number one.
Yeah.
Like
I have a blog with like the 5 free places to sleep. My favorite place to sleep would be at like a Pilot, which is like a chain truck stop kind of gas station.
Those are probably the most comfortable. Walmart got a little hairy sometimes. I don't know.
Yeah, Walmart sometimes. Well,
the one in Alamogordo. Remember that? Alamogordo? How do you say it? In New Mexico?
The one near Great Sand Dunes.
White Sands.
Oh, yeah. White Sands. Yeah, that was a little sketchy. But, yeah, I have a blog with, like, the 5 best places to park for free when you're car camping. But Walmarts can be sketchy. Pilots are the best. But I honestly suggest finding free places to park and just paying for showers. Because most of the time we were paying for the place to stay, but we were just paying to use their showers, really.
That, and then like the Arizona one you were talking about, that was in
Page.
What's that lake called? Lake Powell.
That lake.
Yeah.
That famous lake.
That lake. But the point you were making was good, because not only did we pay to stay there, and then we're like, oh, all right, let's get a shower. You have to pay for the shower too. It's a coin operated shower. It's like you might as well just walk in and use the shower. And at that point, we were just paying for a picnic table and a place to park our car. Yeah,
which you can park your car many places for free.
Right. Because we had our own grill with us, too. That's something you probably haven't mentioned.
Yeah, we also brought our own grill, which we didn't...
A little propane stovetop. It wasn't very big.
Yeah, we didn't use it as much as I wanted to. But again, we were, like, really going. We were, like, not setting up a lot.
The difficulty there was like if you make something, you have to clean the pan and everything. So I think that's why we didn't use that much.
Yeah.
So I think the best solution we found was a lot of the KOAs had a spot just to wash dishes, no matter what kind of KOA you're at, which was awesome.
Yeah, a lot of the campgrounds have like a communal dishwashing sink and stuff like that. But park for free before you pay for somewhere to park, just to park. Like if you're parking somewhere or staying at a campground just to shower, don't. Like you can probably just pay for the showers, and you save a lot of money that way. So I would highly suggest that. That was one of the things I think I wanted to mention earlier, was like, where the heck did we park?
Yeah.
Parking for free is so easy. You do have to be careful because there are places that you cannot park and you will be
towed.
Either towed if you're not in the car, or
ticketed. Rudely
awakened and ticketed because it's, for some reason, you're not allowed to sleep in your car in America. Whatever.
Safety reasons? I don't know. But yeah.
Who knows?
I want to touch on that too. The reason why I feel like pilots were oftentimes the best options to sleep at were because they were mostly in very, like, not very, but generally more remote areas where like Walmarts are usually near a city or a town. And so I felt like the pilots were usually the quietest, least amount of traffic, and felt the most comfortable.
Yeah, they also were kind of well lit.
Yeah, they're well lit, but also like quiet enough where you could sleep, get a good night's sleep. Where a Walmart is like constantly trafficked and it's kind of just harder to sleep at, you know?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel as comfortable or safe.
I feel like more people know that you can sleep in a parking lot at a Walmart than I think people should just assume you can sleep in a gas station parking lot. Like sometimes we just slept in regular gas station parking lots. As long as they're open 24/7, I think it's safe to sleep there. Like we've never been bothered. And like if someone were to approach you, you could just be like, oh, I was driving and I got tired and I didn't want to fall asleep at the wheel. Like
I just happen to have this whole bed in my trunk.
Like you're not going to get yelled at for sleeping at a 24/7 gas station. Like
yeah, we never had a problem.
But
remember that one we stayed in Texas and I woke up and it was like basically a tornado. Like started like hailing and
oh my gosh, Texas had the wildest weather.
Yeah,
we went through like 2 hailstorms in Texas. One of them, I swore that my car was I almost cried because I thought my car was going to be destroyed. Like I thought we were going to have hail damage all over my car.
Yeah, it was brutal.
It was horrible. And we were miles away from the closest town, like in the middle of nowhere. Oh my gosh.
All right, I'm sorry. I took you completely off topic there.
I don't remember what we're talking about. Today's a little all over the place, but
no, we're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
I feel like we're getting somewhere.
I feel like we're putting out some value, you know, some tips and tricks for your car camping. Definitely bring lotion. We had to buy a lot of lotion. Sunscreen. Sunscreen's huge, especially in the summer. We reapplied like 2-3 times a day. We went through like almost 2 bottles of sunscreen.
Yeah. I think that just comes down to where we were, though.
Yeah. Well, it's summer. It was summer. Mm-hmm. And lotion, we were super dry. We weren't used to the climate. So, like, my skin was drying out so fast, like, itchy dry. Like, I was like, oh, my gosh, my skin is so dry. And then also, one thing I did not expect is I bought the most bug spray. Like, I bought, like, 2 giant bottles of, like, Deep Woods bug spray, and there was no bugs. There was 0.
Yeah. Well, I think that was just the climate we were in.
Yeah, like, in the Midwest, there's no bugs.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I had 1 mosquito bite. And usually in the summer up in New York, you need crazy. Bug spray. You need it if you're going to go in the woods. But I guess out there's no woods, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy.
Yeah, another thing that we brought with us that was super helpful was having, like, our big Yetis, because then we could just stop at gas stations and fill them up with ice.
Yeah.
And
that was
whatever drinks we needed, yeah.
Yeah, we kept the Yeti full of ice and then would put ice in our water or like whatever just to keep cool.
But yeah, the Yeti saved our lives. Shout out Yeti.
Yeah, Yeti, please sponsor us.
Yeah, that.
I would love to be sponsored by Yeti.
We brought a Camelback for hiking, so we kept that full of water.
We bought one on the trip.
Oh, right.
That's something you definitely should consider if you're doing a large hiking trip like we were. We were like,
even in general, it's just nice to have the extra water storage.
Yeah, we got the water bladder I got a Osprey and I got the woman one. I will say, a little off topic, but if you're going to buy a water pack at all, for women specifically, they make the women sizes so that it doesn't hit your butt. So like they're a little bit shorter because women's backs are typically shorter. And it was the most comfortable. It is the most comfortable bag I own. And it's got like a trampoline back or something, whatever they call it. So it like keeps the bag off your back so there's airflow. Best $80 I've ever invested in.
Absolutely. I even use it, and it's specifically designed for women, but I like it. I think
it just keeps
nice
it
bag.
so high up on your back that it's like so comfortable.
Yeah, I bring it when I hike in the Adirondacks, and it's nice.
I keep telling him to get his own. He forgets to dry it out when he's done with it.
What are you gonna do? Hey, it's Valentine's Day. We can't argue.
Don't tell people we're filming on Valentine's Day.
You're gonna cut that out?
No, I'm not.
Oh.
We're not big holiday people. Any holiday. Anyway, that's another topic, but
for another day.
Oh, so another thing.
Okay, so we've been talking about, sorry, I know we're kind of jumping around, but you were talking about before we got into like things to bring with you, we were talking about places to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want to talk about dispersed camping? Because that was something that we didn't really know about, but it was actually really cool.
There is this app called Campdemonium.
No, Campendium.
Yeah,
Campendium.
I'll link it or whatever. But there's an app that you can download that basically tells you where all the dispersed camping sites are. And dispersed camping, for those of you that don't know, like we didn't know, is basically just free parking. And it's not a company. It's just like free land for you to park on. So this is very specific to like the Midwest. Like I don't think there's any dispersed camping in the Northeast because we had never heard of it.
Right.
But basically you just drive up to like it's an address or pinpoints, whatever. And you just drive up. There's no one there. And you just look around for a site. And it's just a fire pit.
Yeah, but it's like a government authorized.
But it's like
area.
Legal to stay there. But it's in the middle of nowhere. It was slightly terrifying if you are anxious like I am.
Yeah, even I got kind of spooked, but then I realized it was just a bunch of owls flying around us.
There was huge owls. They were Mexican spotted owls. I looked it up later.
You could see their silhouettes in the night. It was pretty creepy.
I looked it up. They're 4 feet tall. Or their wingspan is 4 feet. That's like almost as tall as me.
I just remember looking, there's like that giant mound behind us, and you could just see their silhouettes on the
Yeah, they were terrifying.
mound.
I was like, okay, I'm going to get in the car now. Like, these owls are going to eat me. And if you're like me and you like witchy things, like owls mean like all of these spooky things. And I was like, I'm going to stay away from these giant owls. But
another great thing about car camping, though, you get to see a lot more. Like, I don't think we would have ever seen that if we weren't camping in the middle of nowhere, you know?
Yeah,
The reason we made that decision is because we were going through Zion. There's nowhere to sleep. You know, It was all expensive hotels and then nothing.
Zion is also just not worth going to.
Yeah, if you like Disneyland, then you can go to Zion. But
unpopular opinion, don't go to Zion National Park. Very unpopular opinion. But
we also didn't get to go do the Narrows, so
I was very upset I didn't get to do the Narrows because the water was too high. Because again, if you're planning your car camping trip, look at what time of the year you're going and do in-depth research, because we went at the beginning of summer, which is when all of the snow caps melt on the mountains. And most of these create rivers that create these canyons. So when you go to Zion National Park, the Narrows, the river, the Virgin River, is too high. The water level is too high. So you can't even hike up the Narrows because it's a huge flowing river at that point. And then if you go to Great Sand Dunes, same situation. There's a river that flows through Great Sand Dunes. And we went when it was at its highest point. So we had to hike through this freezing cold, just melted off the snow cap water.
That was actually kind of fun, though. It was like one of our first days, and this is like the biggest challenge we had to face, and it was like, oh my god, this is gonna be a crazy trip.
Yeah, it was pretty cold.
Not only did we have to hike across that freezing river, we had to climb up a giant mountain of sand.
Sand is the hardest thing to hike up.
Yeah, especially when you're wet, and it's just like,
yeah, that was great though.
Yeah, it was so fun.
So fun.
It was way better on the way back when we were like sweating from hiking up it, and the sun had risen.
Yes.
Risen or rose?
Risen?
The sun had risen, and the sand was really hot, and then we had to cross back the river. Then it was like enjoyable.
Yeah, that's another thing is with like we were doing a lot of hiking in the early mornings and at the night because it's too hot in the beginning or in the middle of the day to be outside.
Yeah, that was like our formula.
With no shade.
We'd wake up, experience the location we were at, go on our little hikes, get our breakfast, and then we would drive most of the day between locations because there's no reason to be outside during the day.
Yes, we would be driving typically between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. was our driving time. So, yeah, we would wake up somewhere, hike or whatever, and then we would go somewhere to get food, and then we'd get in the car and we'd leave that place and we'd go to the next place.
Right, we'd have our coffee and we'd drive to the next place.
So we would be waking up in one national park and then going to sleep in the next. Was like our formula, which
it was perfect because then we would get to the next national park. The sun was starting to set. It was perfect time to go for a hike. We'd hike on out, come back, time to go to bed, like relax, watch some TV or something, and
do it all over again.
Yeah,
it was awesome. Would you do it again?
Absolutely. It was one of the greatest experiences I've had. I'd like to do maybe even like somewhere in Canada, do some more hiking up there.
Yeah, we did a small road trip the other time. The first road trip we did 10 days and we went through Canada. We went through like Quebec, Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, and we went up through Maine. So we went to Acadia National Park. And that trip was really freaking cool. But that was a city trip. We just saw a lot of cities. It was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think car camping is ideal if you're an outdoorsy person. Then you're not going to matter. You're not going to care at all. Like, it's basically a luxury at that point, getting to sleep in a car.
Yeah. And you could bring a tent, but you would need a campsite to do that. And why do that if you could just
park your car
and save the money? And
yeah, it was more of an efficiency thing for us. Like, we just got to see the most amount of stuff that we would have been able to see. Like, we usually have to work a lot, so
yeah,
being able to do that and conserve time.
I would do it again. I wish we could do it again. We've sold my car, so we can't do that currently.
Not right now.
But
yeah, I think
I really want to try a camper van. It's more expensive, but you know, it's the level up.
I want to do it again, but in a different region of the U.S., like Montana maybe, or
yeah.
Like up
hopefully
in the
we'll go to Montana this year. We'll see what COVID decides to do. But anyway, let's wrap up this episode. If we didn't touch on a bunch of stuff, maybe we'll do another car camping episode.
Yeah, there's a lot more to talk about than I anticipated. Like, car camping is
we're getting kind of high on time, so I want to wrap it up. But I loved car camping. I want to do it all the time. I want to be on the road 24/7. If I could, I would. But there's reasons why I can't. Got to be responsible.
Just a good way to break into traveling, I think.
Oh, it's great because
see a lot of stuff.
You can just see so much. We saw like so much stuff. It was crazy. But anyway, okay. Maybe we'll do another episode. Let me know down below if you'd like to see another episode on car camping. And thank you for watching. I appreciate all of your support. I redid our thumbnails on YouTube, so if you're a listener, an audio listener, maybe check out my thumbnails because I put a lot of work into them. But on YouTube, I redid our thumbnails, and I'm really proud of them. So let me know what you think about the thumbnails, and let me know if you want us to do another episode on car camping with like specific questions or anything like that. But yeah, I appreciate you all so much. If you could leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, it helps us out a lot. And I'll see you next week. Thanks, guys.